We are continuing to explore the Chesapeake Bay this summer.
And this update is covering the eastern shore, the lower eastern shore. We've had a lot of great adventures. We got a lot to fill you in on.
Staying on the path that I've chosen, straight up, come my way, and I'll see you at the top. 'Cause something's gonna happen in this story, and I can feel it coming, like the rising of the sun.
Cherie, I've got some big news. We just crossed into Maryland, a new state. Yep, there it is. We're cruising into Crisfield. Cherie's pedaling the boat.
I'm in command.
Yep, we just crossed into Maryland. New state for us.
As we pass through to the Tangier Sound and up to the town of Crisfield, where we decided to stay for an entire week.
Yep, so we looked into Crisfield. They do offer an MTOA discount. We are members of the M2A, which is the Marine Trawlers
Owners Association.
Yeah. We don't have a trawler. They still allow us in. They had a discount there, but we looked into their weekly rate, which was like buy 4, get 3 days free. So we decided to do a weekly because it was Memorial Day. And like we mentioned, weather coming in. There were several days in our stay there that was predicted to be very windy when we wouldn't want to be out there in the open water.
Yeah. And also we were like, we'd been a while without an Amazon hit. So we're like, you know, we've got some provisions that we can need, some boat project stuff we needed. We just basically needed an address. And the marina's like, yeah, we can give you an address. And it is actually a really nice, this is Summers Cove Marina.
Really great marina. Unfortunately, there's not much to do in Crisfield. This marina is huge. Hundreds and hundreds of slips, it seems like.
Yeah. And they host big events and stuff, but it's still kind of empty. I guess it's still early in their season. But when we got there, there were 7 other looper boats all there on the dock or arrived shortly after us. And it instantly turned into our first big looper social docktail spontaneous.
Yeah, it was really cool. I think one of the downsides of slooping like we do is we don't get to participate in that very often. Just kind of as we're in the season, as they're crossing through. And here we caught up with a whole group of loopers, so we get to hang out, do docktails, catch up, meet
Swap
people.
Stories, yeah.
That was really, really cool.
2 nights in a row of that. Yeah.
And before they all left for Memorial Day weekend. And then our friends, Sax and Cherie aboard Red Eagle, who we had last gotten caught with up at the James River last season when we all got kicked off the docks in Richmond to the flooding. We anchored out with them for several days. They just randomly showed up.
Yeah, and they're like, wait, we recognize that boat back and forth, and it's like just by serendipity they pulled up like literally right next to us, and we're like, let's catch up with them. And so we actually made the best of a week in Crisfield. We got caught up on some projects. We saw yet another really well done, cool Waterman's Museum. Learned about wood decoys. I didn't know there was so much to know about wooden bird decoys, which is an art, a huge art that Crisfield is basically the ground zero of. The Ward brothers perfected the art there.
They're also claiming to be a seafood capital of the world.
Yes.
Seems to be a lot of them around here.
Yes, they used to be a seafood capital, and
we learned a heck of a lot about the soft shell crab life cycle. Now, I always thought, being crab novices, that soft shell crabs were
was
its own species. I just thought it was a soft shell crab species that was unfortunate to have soft shells, so they didn't last long, right?
No, this is the crabs that the watermen they catch the crabs and then they wait until they're molting, and there's like a 2-hour window while they shed their old shell and are expanding the new one where they can take them out of the water during that 2-hour period, and their shells haven't hardened yet, and they're a delicacy. So did not know this, and it's apparently a lot of work, and it's a lot of culture and a lot of everything. We learned a ton about crabs, and the 2 festivals, because of the Memorial Day weekend, there were 2 festivals. One was the Tangier Sound Music Festival, which got us excited at first until we realized it was a country music festival.
Not necessarily our venue.
Not necessarily, I think, but in the back in the 90s, this festival used to draw 15,000 people to Crisfield.
Now,
it's just rebooting this year. They brought in a national acts.
Several of them. There was
several
like 5
national
acts,
but there was only a few hundred attendees. And the marina was even handing out free tickets to each boat in the slips, but we actually could hear it just fine from our boat, so we enjoyed it from the boat. And then the next day, using the same facilities, the same little festival grounds, was the Soft Shell Crab Festival, which we went over to and got to experience. Another band and more music and a lot of crafts and local vendors and stuff.
Yeah, there's a few restaurants in Crisfield itself. There's a Food Lion that's about 1.5 miles-ish from the marina.
Marina loans free bikes if you don't have your own.
Yeah, so we just took our bikes. It was a great place to get provisioning done. There's plenty of places where we could get our running in and biking in. So
beautiful houses.
We saw a camel on the side of the road.
Yeah, a real camel on one of our bike rides. And
there was a state park there, Jane Island State Park. So we rode through that and did some of their trails. So there's enough to do in Crisfield. I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth a whole week.
But it's definitely worth a stop.
Definitely worth a stop. And we made the best of it, especially considering Memorial Day weekend and the weather conditions that we had going on.
But we did have some, I think a little tech curse started there. First off, when we first got there, our soda stream just died. Instead of carbonating water, it would spray water everywhere. And it was 6-7 years old. 10. Oh, it's 10 years old. So we've had the soda stream forever. It's not repairable, and we decided to upgrade to something even cooler. We got a Carbo that looks better, works better, but again, thankfully we had Amazon, so we could replace our soda stream. Yeah, that wasn't too bad of the tech curse. But then,
oh goodness,
no, then my bike tire went flat.
Well, okay, that's not a tech curse.
That's a curse.
That's a tube.
It's a tube,
and you haven't replaced it.
Normally I touch things and they work, and this time it's like my bike broke, the soda stream broke, and then.
The worst of this is we decided, because our watches said we needed more points, we decided to go out for a walk. We had been a stormy day all day.
But it was supposed to be gone. Yeah. But weather forms over Tangier Sound, and a severe thunderstorm bubbled up while we were out walking, and sideways driving rain and like inches of rain, like probably 4 inches of rain in the span of 30 minutes came down. And we hid out under a shade structure out on our walk. And
then I go back early.
I still had a few more points.
He had more points to get. I was done at this point. And he says, "Oh, please move my laptop," because we do sometimes have some leaks that come in. A tiny
drip that comes in where my laptop was.
Move my laptop. And I get back and realize he had left the window open.
And so it wasn't just a little drip. It was a tidal wave of water.
It was flooded.
The higher side of the boat was soaked, and my laptop has been destroyed.
Yes, fortunately, the television, the printer, the Apple
everything
TV, else is fine, but his laptop is down. So we're down to having to share my laptop.
And I got a keyboard ordered in on Amazon for my iPad until I get a chance to get my laptop repaired.
Because he decided not to just order another one. So
because so tech curses.
There is not an Apple store in Crisfield.
No tech repair places at all. So yeah, got to find a good window of opportunity to fix my laptop.
So anyway, weather window again manifested, and we decided our next stop would be Pocomoke City, going up the Pocomoke River. Yeah.
The Pocomoke River is a really cool historic river. Apparently, its claim to fame is it's like the deepest river for its width, other than the Nile, which didn't seem that special depth-wise, but it was a pretty deep river and pretty narrow and pretty twisty. And it has two cool towns up the river, Pocomoke City and Snow Hill, and we wanted to check them both out.
Both navigable. Both have transient docking space.
Yeah.
Now, the issue to getting to Pocomoke is you can either go around the peninsula, and it's about a 50-mile trip total.
Oh yeah,
from Crisfield around, or there's a little cut that you can go through. Yeah, there's not a lot of documentation on it.
It hasn't been surveyed in years. It has not many reviews on Waterway Guides or Active Captain. So we said we're going to go for it.
We're about to take a shortcut from Crisfield to Pocomoke City, and it involves going through a narrow little cut. So fingers crossed that we get through.
We got some local knowledge thanks to a YouTube follower, so hopefully we got the skinny on this.
Yes, the skinny water.
We were at rising tide, and we did see 5.5 feet at the entrance to this cut. So definitely, if you have a higher draft, we have about a 3.5 to 4 foot draft. That was okay for us. If you have a higher draft,
I think we saw 4.5 feet at one point. So
Yeah,
we got pretty down to inches, and it's a very narrow, twisty little cut, but the Navionics charts were spot on. Actually, no, they weren't spot on, because there was a couple spots where Navionics said we were going to run aground, and we didn't. So we trusted on the old Corps of Engineers survey and ignored Navionics in those few little spots and made it through the cut.
yes, now we operate as co-captain, so both of us were at the helm. I had my eyes on all the charts. He had his eyes on the actual navigation, and we're just trusting each other to say, hey, favor left, favor right. You need to go this way. Now we keep a really close check on the depths and everything else, and we did it.
Having 4 sets of eyes, 2 captains, and 1 adventure, and that worked out really well for us. It was teamwork, and that got us across over into the Pocomoke Sound, and then there's another very, very narrow, challenging cut to get into the Pocomoke River itself, and it's fortunately been marked with a lot of local markers. It's just little PVC pipes and pieces of tape, but they're very hard to see.
And barges go up this all the time. Yeah, so it is designed for barges. They navigate it. Apparently the barge companies put those PVC pipes in to help them navigate in. So it is navigable.
And it's plenty deep enough for barges. So it's plenty deep enough for us, but it is very narrow. Unfortunately, we didn't have to do this while a barge was coming or going.
Right. There's only really room for one boat at a time.
Yes.
And we did have, the winds were a little stiffer than the forecasts were, as we're learning on the Chesapeake. And so we did have it was kind of windy and fetchy, so we're trying to navigate this while the boat is swinging around
and going sideways a little bit and stuff. But it was fun. It was actually great teamwork to work like that jointly at the helm. So we made a good entrance into the Pocomoke River,
and then it was all smooth sailing from there, because once you're in the protection of the river, it's gorgeous. Got up to Pocomoke City. Didn't even think about the bridge that's there. I mean, it just should be opening, right? But we didn't know that the main town docks are beyond the bridge, and that's where all the power hookups are. We didn't find any open power hookups on this side of the bridge.
Yeah, they're on the downstream side of the bridge. There's a few power hookups, and there was one we potentially could have squeezed into by we wedging between 2 boats, but there's a lot more past this bridge, and this little drawbridge has only got like a 2 or 3 foot clearance. It's water level, and which is fine. So we didn't need power. We thought we'd only made Pocomoke City for a day or 2, and then we're going to continue up to Snow Hill. So we tied off at one of the big long dock that has just no power, and we fine with that.
We're good. We're off grid.
The town gives 2 free days of dockage with power if you want it, if you find one of the spots with power. So we walked down to City Hall, registered, filled out their paperwork, and they're very welcoming, and said, welcome to our town.
Yep. We had one day of all rain while we were there, but in between the rain, we did check out the local museum there, the Delmarva Museum, where they have adorable river otters.
Delmarva Discovery Museum is a nicely done museum, again, about crabs and oysters and otters in this case, and they have 2 river otters that were a joy to experience.
We did check out, there's a brand new brewery that opened just about a year ago, Cypress Roots Brewery. We went there, had an amazing evening.
And we were actually there to the night of the SpaceX Starship launch, and the brewery owners had BMX and stuff up on the brewery screens, and he's like, rocket launches are cool. Let me put that up. So he put rocket launches up on the big screens, and the whole bar, it wasn't a big crowd, but we all watched and cheered for the rocket until it went explodey.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was kind of fun.
So yeah, that was fun. And then we get back. We had our 2 nights up. Good weather. We go to call the bridge. Say, hey, we're ready for opening. It's like, we have a broken part. We're waiting for a replacement. Should be here any day
Maybe
now.
this afternoon. Maybe later. Call again later. And eventually the bridge tender started calling us because we kept checking in, and they're like, nope, they don't tell us anything. We don't have the part. They can't open. So
we had bad weather coming in again. You're noticing a theme here with the weather here?
We pay attention to the weather windows.
Yes. And so going back out into the sound really wasn't an option. There's
no place else to stop.
Yeah, there's nowhere else really to go other to our next stop. And we weren't ready to go there, and the weather was going to be bad. So we decided to stay in Pocomoke, and so we just made the best of it.
We became locals at the Cypress Roots.
Went there many times. We connected with Jessamine and Lana, which was awesome. Definitely recommend the brewery there. And then we found the bowling alleys. We hadn't bowled in over a decade.
Yeah, but out on a run one morning, I'm like, wait, that's a bowling alley. I had run like 1.5 miles from the docks, and I'm like, a bowling alley. And we checked it up, and rode our bikes out there the next day, and it turns out we were there for a free bowling day. And so we had a blast bowling.
There's a great little nature trail there at the city dock, so we ran that. That was pretty. That leads over to a disc golf course that was converted from an old golf course.
Yeah.
We did not actually get there because we ran out of time.
Yeah, then the other adventure was the cow to cone creamery. So is the Chesapeake Bay Creamery, I think it was?
A dairy.
Chesapeake Bay Dairy is a dairy. I found it just scanning around on all trails. I found a bike route on rural roads to this dairy that has the cows, makes the ice cream, gives you the ice cream. So,
but it's only
really
open on weekends for a few hours. And it's about a 5-mile bike ride.
Yeah, each way.
Each way. So we took the bikes out.
It was a windy day, but it was a fun day for a bike ride. So we had some really great adventures. And finally on Saturday, they're like, the bridge tenders call us like, bridge is fixed. You can go to Snow Hill now. And we're like,
okay,
yeah, time's up. We're gonna go the other direction. Sorry.
Yeah. So we had signed up for the M2A cruise to Onancock meetup, and that was happening on Tuesday. Here was Saturday when they fixed the bridge, and there was a good weather window on Sunday, and Monday and Tuesday were looking questionable,
a little bit more marginable,
and we had work commitments on Tuesday, so we wanted to really get to the next stop. So we decided, no, let's not go up to Snow Hill.
We've heard great things about Snow Hill, so maybe next time.
But that it would have been 11 miles up, 11 miles back, plus the time to get back, and getting to Onancock was already going to be pretty long. So Sunday, once the weather was looking better, we decided to set back down the river. The winds were supposed to be dying down. I think they died down a lot later than the predictions were saying. Yeah. So we did wait it out at the mouth of the Pocomoke.
Yeah, we got down to the mouth of the river and it's like, this is really windy. But yeah, again, we just threw an anchor, had lunch, waited, and it calmed down. And we actually had a really nice cruise down to
it was slightly bouncy, but it was just like little 1 or 2 footers. Yeah, not a big deal.
Yeah, out to Onancock.
Okay, so we heard 3 different pronunciations
from locals.
From locals. Okay. So Onancock, Onancock,
and Noncock.
And Noncock. Take your pick. You're going to hear us mess it up either way.
Yeah, there was no agreement, but the purpose of the thing was there was this MTOA meetup, so a whole bunch of trawlers were coming in. We were heading there. We didn't want to get the marina spot. We didn't need one. We loved being at anchor, and there's supposed to be a nice anchorage there, but we didn't realize it was a very tight anchorage.
Well, we didn't realize how many people were going to be there, and these were not just all from the M2A rendezvous. There's just not many. There's just not many places to be on the eastern shore in this area, and Onancock is pretty easy to get to. So, and it's a
great town.
It's a great little town, so it's very popular. The marina only has, I think, 14 slips, and only a handful of them can be for boats of our size or larger. And so the little anchorage outside of the marina, I say, is good for maybe 5 boats.
Well, the cruising guide says space for 3 to 4 boats, and at one point there were 6.
Yeah, and one of them was in the channel.
Yes, boats were piled in tight, but everybody was doing a good job of keeping an eye on each other, and nobody dragged or bounced into each other.
We started to drag a little bit. It is a softer mud. We did try to go further back.
The little cove. Our first night we actually anchored in a cove beyond, is shallower water, and that was very soupy mud. So
yeah, we started to drag just a little bit of current in the morning, and like, okay, no, not that.
Go back out to the bigger anchorage.
Some boats left. We went and set an anchor in the main anchorage. And
that leaves you very close, easy dinghy access to the town, and the town is super welcoming to boaters. Everybody's like, "Hey, welcome to Onancock," or whatever they call it. And they're apparently locals loan people cars. There's a shuttle service too that can get you out to there's no groceries or anything right in the little downtown, but the rest of the downtown is just adorable. It's like such a nicely maintained, restored town.
Several restaurants. There's a bakery, a couple coffee shops. Apparently a gelato place is about to open. They were not open while we were there. There is
an Irish pub, a tap house.
There's a movie theater that has movies like 3 nights a week. did not line up with our
We
stay.
almost had lined it up to see Lilo and Stitch, but there was MTOA Docktails that night instead.
And there is a community playhouse there too, but nothing was playing while we were there. So a lot to do right there in Onancock. There's a disc golf course. We did play that.
Yep.
And the cruise in with the MTA group was formed around their Wine Wednesday event, which is
once a month at an art kind of an artist collective at an old school.
And they basically serve free wine, and you go around and stroll and see all these little artists.
And buy art.
Yeah,
and
which was fun.
Cool stuff. And we got some stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And then again, our friends Cherie and Sax aboard Red Eagle show up.
Just spontaneously, unplanned again. And we're like
we've been communicating with them, and we hadn't shared where we all were and we all showed up.
Yeah.
So we had a delightful evening hanging out with them.
Yeah, we did Wine Wednesday with them, and then out for food and cocktails. And it's like, okay, we just keep bouncing into you wherever we go. This is
literally not
out.
bouncing.
Yeah, fortunately. But we had a lovely stay there. But the tech curse followed. I got some drone footage, some really quick drone footage when we first arrived, and then I went to go fly, get some good drone footage on a nice sunny day when I wanted to see
show all the
6 boats in this tiny anchorage. And the drone is dead. The drone's radio is seemingly dead. The drone is working fine, the remote control is working fine, but the radio link between them will no longer pair. And it seems like that might be a dead motherboard sign. So it's 6 years old. The drone is 6 years old. Maybe it's time for an upgrade. I don't know. I can't. I touch things, they break. So I'm he's paranoid right now.
Yeah, he's not allowed to touch things anymore. So anyway, I think we're in Onancock for 3 nights.
4 nights.
No, 4 nights. Probably 4 nights.
We had a full work day.
Yeah, we did a full work day.
We had a lot of work there.
Yeah,
too.
a lot of work we had to get done there. So, and then we decided our next stop. So Cherie and Sax had just come from Salisbury, which is up the
Wicomico River.
Wicomico River. There's only 12 rivers along the bay named Wicomico.
With Wicomico, Greater Wicomico, Lesser Wicomico, and there's at least several other just plain old Wicomico. So this is the Wicomico
going to Salisbury.
Going to Salisbury. As far up this particular river as you can go to this, and that's why the town exists there.
Which is a university town, also the headquarters of Purdue Chicken.
Yeah.
Didn't
know that before.
And Chesapeake Bay shipbuilding, where the American cruise lines that are building a lot of their ships.
Fascinating to see them building these ships that we keep running into, not literally.
Not running into.
But yes, we keep seeing these little small river cruise ships all over the place. Luxury river cruise ships, and this is where they make them, and we got to kind of see 3 of them in the process of being built. But it was a really pretty cruise up the Wicomico River, and our first night heading up the river, we stopped at Bordelot Winery. Another winery that I saw had a dock.
Yes. So that's the creek off the Wicomico.
The Wicomico Creek.
And so we went there. The owner of the vineyard, his house is there, and he welcomed. You just call and ask permission, and he welcomed us to use our dinghy. Or we could have tied up the boat to his full dock.
His dock is big enough, yeah.
Yep. And we went over. We got in. It was a 50-mile cruising day to get from Onancock to there. There's really nowhere to stop unless you go to Tangier Island or Deal Island, and
or
it's really
Smith
not.
Island, yeah.
Or just we could have done those, but we decided just to push on through. So it was a 50-mile cruising day, which is kind of long for us, which is like 7 hours. So we got in like at 4 o'clock, just in time to go get a tasting and buy a couple bottles, and then we just collapsed because we were exhausted.
Yes, that was a long day. Then the next day was only like a 12-mile cruise, the rest of the way up to Salisbury.
And on the way, you have to pass 2 cable ferries. These are ferries that are pulled across the river by cables.
Yes, and so you can't go past the ferry until the ferry tender gives you all clear that they have dropped the cable. Otherwise, you'll go by and it'll rip the bottom off your boat. So, and what's really cool is these cable ferries have been in operation since the 1680s. These are
not these exact ferries. But the routes have been.
Yeah, the cables have probably been in use that long. Yeah, maybe they probably change the cable every so often. But yeah, these are the longest operating public ferries in the United States. So it was really kind of cool to see these little pieces of history. Each one can only carry a few cars at a time. They save huge, because there's no bridges over this entire river until you get to Salisbury. So it was fun to do the river, deal with these little ferries, and got to Salisbury just as some rain started.
And wind and rain coming in. Got docked there. The marina there
is in transition.
It is run by the city at current time. The concessionaire who used to run it bailed on it a few years ago. There are no fuel up there and no pump out service at current time because it was broke down years ago.
And the city just hired a new dock master or dock mistress, and she was her first week on the job, so she was brand new. We got to talk to her, but she's also doing double duty. She's also runs traffic enforcement for the city, so is just starting to figure out how to revitalize this marina. There's just like an old padlock that you have to get a combo to get in and out, to get out of the marina. But you are right in the heart of Salisbury.
Yeah, you're right downtown, the old historic downtown.
There's a brew and river brew, or brew river.
Brew river. River brew.
Big bar, restaurant, and has live music every day, is like right there next to the marina.
Whether you like it or not.
It was actually, they had great bands. We had free concerts every day.
Yep. And so the dockage there is like $1 a foot plus $12 electric. So that, I don't like paying extra for electric. It's just kind of crazy because we don't use that much. But and $12, there's no way I'm going to use $12 a day of electric. But anyway, that's what the cost is. So for us, it was like $60 a night or so, around there, which is not bad if we're right downtown. Not $10 a night at Pocomoke.
Yes,
$60 a night. We went and paid for 3 nights, and
it turned out to be a very busy. We got there on Friday, and this was like one of their Friday celebrations in Salisbury. They had a big concert going on down
at the country music.
It was another country music thing, but it's like, okay, this is a free concert. We'll go check it out. There's supposed to be food trucks. There was one food truck, but the country band, Chase Payne.
There's a little more rock bluesy.
Yeah, so. and was really good. Put on a great show, and the town was great and welcoming. We found great ice cream again.
More ice cream.
We found some great places to go biking. The town has a municipal zoo.
That's free.
That's free. This is, I guess, one of the gems of small town zoos in the country. But they've actually done a lot of nice work on this little zoo. And a great park.
Yeah, and downtown is, because it's a college town, it's pretty liberal. They're full on Pride mode.
Pride banners everywhere in town, which we love.
It was awesome to do. And some quirky things to do there. Like Chris found me a pole dancing class.
This was actually on the city's official list of events for the weekend on their Facebook page. Is like fun things to do in Salisbury this weekend. It was like pole dance fitness class introductory, and I was like, send her the link.
I did aerial silks in Norfolk last year. We did an aerial yoga class. Yeah. I've heard pole dancing is very fitness oriented, really works the core. It's great. So I had a private lesson there.
Yeah.
I'm bruised up like crazy from that, but it was really fun. Lots of fun.
And while she was doing that, I found some actually surprisingly challenging mountain bike trails, and because I still haven't fixed my flat tire, but I keep getting it pumped up, and put my bike through the paces on some serious trails. And then we actually did a bike ride together and did the full loop back down and went and crossed one of those old historic ferries. And then
I got to ride across the river on the ferry. That was pretty cool.
And did a rural road bike adventure. And so we actually had a really full, busy weekend in Salisbury.
Yeah, Salisbury, I could have stayed there a few more nights. There's plenty to do there. There's apparently a lot of good dining options. There's a couple breweries. We went to one of them. So there's a lot to do there. Definitely can keep you occupied for a while. Better, much more so than Pocomoke or Onancock.
And so it's a much bigger town.
Yeah, much bigger town. A lot more to do there. There's a food line that we could bike to about an hour and a mile and a half away.
From the marina, yeah.
So great for provisioning. Definitely could have stayed longer there. But it was kind of crazy with the marina prices. It's $1 per foot per night for transients, but for a month as a transient, it's only $6 per foot.
Yeah, well, as not so much a transient. That's if you're like, well, I mean, yeah, but yes, but there's no pump out. There's no, you couldn't really be a transient and live aboard for a month.
With
there,
their pump out broken.
But yeah, again, I'm excited to see what comes of this, because the new dock mistress has exciting ideas of fun things to do to revitalize this marina. So stay tuned for Salisbury, hopefully coming back online as a good destination.
And then we found another weather window. That's why we didn't stay much longer, because we wanted to get back over to
our next set of adventures, the Pocomoke River,
which we will be starting soon. So we found a good weather window to cross the bay again. And
we're cruising in the middle of the Chesapeake. We've both taken showers while underway, and this is about as glassy as it gets. I'm not gloating. I'm just stating observations of the current conditions. Not gloating. And we're coming up on the entrance to the Potomac.
Yes.
So
we have timed this at slack tide, and winds are under 5 knots. So hopefully we've done our weather research well.
And we are now starting our adventure up the Potomac.
Yeah, and this wasn't just a good weather window. We can say it now because it's past.
No,
it was perfect weather window. It was like the crossing the bay was just tranquil,
classy,
relaxing, classy.
It was
beautiful.
8 hours, but it was
an 8-hour cruising day, but it was beautiful. That's what cruising is all about. And so that was
take the weather windows when you can. Yes. And so now we're off for new adventures. We'll come back and share more about what we're up to later. And we'll try to get some more topical videos out. If you've got other video ideas that you would like to see us cover, feel free to put them in the comments. We love your comments. Your comments help this video get propelled to be shown to others. So please please comment. It helps. That's why we're here, is to share this adventure with you. So help other people see it.
And let us know if you want these to be slightly shorter segments, because this was probably a pretty long one. Maybe we should do these a little bit more often or not. Or do you like this long sort of pace we're doing? So
I think I get to decide, because I'm the one producing these videos.
Okay, there we go. But yeah, here you go. Take care.
We create these videos just for fun, and we love having you along for the ride. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, or if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. See you next time.